Okay, because now just by taking off from what you just said there, something else you said on Saturday that really caught my attention, our attention actually, because we talked about it. I talked about it with a few others, and that is towards the end you were talking about how we tend to visit the spirit and then go return to the flesh. So we have these visitations of the spirit.
They're true.
And then we return to whatever the other one is, our flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you mean by that?
Exactly what you just said.
Yeah. No elaboration needed. Yeah.
Well, a walk in the flesh isn't, it's not a demonic, it's not a sinful,
exactly.
it's not. A walk in the flesh for it, at least the people I'm talking to in this room today, is a sincere effort to please God in many respects.
Sure.
Yeah. And done basically in ignorance of how much we control the moment individually. Of how we'd like to think that we're being responsive, but we're not. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But in the process of doing that, I don't know how it all works in the dynamic of God.
No, right.
I mean, other than He certainly wants us to see into a realm that attracts us and moves us, helps move us from one place to another.
Yeah.
He allows that to take place. Maybe it's our heart, the hunger of our heart. Maybe it's part of the sincerity of it. We really want to see somebody healed, and all of a sudden a word pops up, a vision shows up, and we give ourselves to it, and boom, you know, a miracle takes place. Somebody gets healed. A word of prophecy comes. Yeah, yeah. But then, you know, and for a moment we may just linger there. We may find something. You know, I used to go into places, and I wasn't trying to be arrogant or anything, but I would tell people at the end of the service, if you need a word from God, and you've got the time, just form a line. And you won't leave disappointed. I've missed airplanes. I've missed all kinds of things because of that. But you know, you just get caught in that stream, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And you come to this sense of truly, I'm a man that walks in the Spirit, but you know, it doesn't take me 5 minutes down the road, you know, to encounter something along the way that proves to me that you know, that I may be living in another realm at the same time, kind of thing. And that's really what it is, and we bounce in and out of it. Our problem is we come to a place that if we have enough spiritual input and experience, then we begin to think that whatever the rest of it is actually incorporated in that as a walk in the Spirit. Then something happens to you like happened to me, and the evidence starts to stack up, and all of a sudden you realize, no, I've never been like this before. I've never known. I've never had eyes to see this way before. I've never had ears to hear. You know, and you recognize now there's a true separation. Now there's something that's taken place, and if I'm right in my assessment of what happened, I'll never go back to the other. I'll never go back to it, and that would be very fulfilling.
You just come to this place where you just prefer being in His presence and prefer the Spirit more than the other.
But it's in this case, it's not by choice. In this case, you know, it's not in choice, because I can think about those times that I would choose. I've always wanted to see. And God would always let me see. You know, if I wanted to see into somebody's life, He would always let me. And I took that as an interpretive key, that you know, that if I wanted to, I could. If I didn't want to, then something He wouldn't force me into that situation. And I've encouraged people in those ways over the years. You know, if you really want to see who that person is, He'll show you. You know, if not, then just go on whatever you're doing. And so.
Well, let me ask you. So, when you say if you really want to see into a person, He'll show you, and if you really don't want to, it won't happen.
It won't.
So when that part of He won't show you, if you don't really want, is that the carnal side of you? Is that the flesh side of you?
No, I don't think so. I don't know how to use those terms really, but
so both could be.
See, I find people. I think it's about value. I think that's the the essence of everything we do. You know,
Right.
we invest in what we value. I invested in alcohol for 22 years. I did. I valued it above everything.
Yeah.
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 And because I invested in it, it determined the course of my life. It determined my choices in life. It was, you know, so it's not an issue of good or bad. It's about what we value. Because we'll always invest in what we value according to the standard value that we have. I just like to invest in people. You know? I think that that's what God's all about. I don't think he's about churches.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Right.
I really don't. I think he's about
Yeah.
people. And,
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, and I think we're going to probably see the emphasis of that more in the days ahead. It's inevitable if the Father's heart really becomes the heart of leaders in the church, etc., then it's inevitable that as their hearts are restored to the children will be restored to them, and the inevitable is something good will come out of that. It won't just be,
Yeah,
it just won't be children. It'll be unique children that come forth. That,
that's good.
you know, that are raised up. It'll be fathers that lay down their life and prefer their children over themselves. You know, yearn to see them become the reality of his intention. Yeah, and I think that's where we are. I mean, if I was trying to define the moment that we're in, if I was going to prophesy, I don't see it as being a time of great blessing. I don't see it as a time of the miraculous things that other people would like to prophesy in this hour. I see it simply in the restoration. It's you know, if we want to go back to the words of Malachi, it's there. It's you know, it's just there, and people all over the world are becoming more and more aware of that. I see there's a wonderful conference over in Southern California on the Father's Heart just sometime in November with Jim Jordan and some of the other guys that have become kind of prominent leaders in that
Yeah.
in the restoration of the Father's Heart.
New Zealand guys.
Yeah. And
You familiar with those guys' names? Jim Jordan?
Well, just the books that he
Yeah.
was sharing with us.
yeah, I mean this stuff didn't begin yesterday. I went to high school with Ed Pioric, who is one of the kind of the front runners of the restoration of the Father's Heart and you know, kind of thing. I'm not sure if he's with that group over there, but he'd be a good combination in there kind of thing. Yeah. So I think, you know, I say it over and over again, whether I say it in words that are really mean anything to people. I just think we live in the most wonderful time that man has ever lived. I can't help but believe that the provision of God, it's almost like the intentional provision of God, that you know, it's really, he's come to the place where he said, okay, you know, I've allowed you to walk in these things. I've allowed the flesh to be dominant. I've brought you to places of futility in your life. I've led you to disappointments and discouragements. Yeah, even though you were sincerely pursuing me. You know, in essence, he's saying there never was a provision for you to really fulfill those things that you're in pursuit of, and that was my workmanship. That was me doing it. Yeah, to bring you to a place where you would recognize the futility. Yeah, not the insincerity of your way, but the futility.
Wow.
Yeah, of what was coming
so
to a place that, in a sense, my loving kindness could turn you. That you would say, I've had enough of this. And basically all over the world, that's what people are saying. I've had enough of this. This is not satisfying. This is not fulfilling. And you know,
So
I don't need a new worship team. I don't need a better venue. I don't need any of that stuff. There's something within me that cries for fulfillment.
That's
yeah.
right.
And that's where we are today. And now in this word about the explosion coming forth, but more so in the word that came to me, it is the evidence of this extraordinary provision that's being measured out to the whosoever's. It's not for their choosing. I really do believe people are being prepared all over the world to come to a place of evident. What's the word I'm looking for? A place where something
Demonstration
becomes
or
self-evident.
evidence.
The invitation comes forth to be taken in whatever form it is. And this stepping over, that it's not just about the father heart, it's about children being delivered into the realm of the Spirit, to walk as one with the Father, to truly have the opportunity to become everything that they intended to become the expression of who He is. Yeah, and I just happen to believe that's the hour that we live in. We stand at the front door of it. We don't stand at some place where it's in progress. We stand at the front door of it. How long that season will go on, it'll go on until man really has been restored to what he was intended, and order has, and then it'll just unfold itself into the kingdom of God coming and ruling in the earth, and
Yeah.
and hopefully my feet are still on the ground when that happens, whether it's 5 years or 500 years from now. Yeah, because that's where my heart is. I want to be there. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Amen.